Chapter 14 Ultimate Vigil. Defense against overwhelming force is only ever a temporary solution. 27th of December 2033, 5:12 p.m. Boulder Dominion, Battle Helix. Mana signature C53171. Physical location Phobos. By my suit's computer, Luna and I ran for just over an hour of realm time. There's a wonder to exploration. I'd signed on to the mission to explore new frontiers in space, and here I was, exploring entirely different frontiers, pushing the human body far past the limits of what should be possible. Like so many others, I'd watched the women's marathon world record be shattered at the Brisbane Olympics last year, but it was still 2 hours 11. The men were faster, but only 4 times under 2 hours had ever been recorded. One of those was tarnished by drugs. Here I was, running a marathon in 1 hour and 12, while nursing a broken wrist and maintaining conversation. And I wasn't just maintaining an impossible pace, I was slowing my companion down. She could have run faster without me, despite her carrying a halberd, 3 oversized spears, and wearing full plate. While we jogged, I'd taken an in-depth look at the list of skills on my character sheet and noticed an important change. My skill in athletics had improved to C rank, or competent, as the snarky voice of the system called it. I recalled it being D rank earlier. I cursed myself for not writing down my skill levels, as I knew now they could change without notice. This is a real problem. There are so many rules of this new reality to discover. It's exciting and dangerous at the same time. I'm exploring frontiers I never even dreamed of. We climbed several of the helical staircases in our run, each one a defensive bulwark. The stairs making up each were not narrow, but they lacked in precariousness they made up for in exposure. By the top of each staircase, it was a long drop to the floor below. Between the helices, each floor was different. Wild grasses and stone structures dominated each floor, where the stones of the first floor had been a bleached white. Rust-red stones made up the second, and obsidian the third. No floor showed any obvious signs of agriculture, and I kept wondering how the population was fed. Did they farm in folded realms, or the grasses harvested and eaten? Or was I missing something important? The sixth and final human floor was wildly different to the others. Stone remained, but cracked marble now dominated the landscape, replacing the gigantic hewn bricks of the lower floors. Grass was scarce, much of it scorched, and solidified puddles of bismuth stained the land, as though enormous gobs of molten metal had been cast over the landscape long ago. Despite the metal's rainbow hues, I could see that this was a land that knew violence intimately. And the air just smelt wrong. I couldn't pin down why. It wasn't quite like the reek of fires on Earth, but it was bad. I turned to Luna. Is this the work of those angels? She nodded. My children live 1 floor below us, and we have 2 forces buffering them. The stains on this landscape, those are what this land suffers when the first buffer is pressured hard. You said your world has no angels, just myths of them, as virtue made manifest? I nodded back. I told her this during the run. Any virtue taken too far becomes a flaw. Justice is fine, but not when it escalates into sadistic vengeance. Humility is great, until it escalates to saying, let someone more qualified do it to everything. Love gives us the reason to live, until it escalates into obsession. An interesting philosophy. But what's that got to do with... Oh. I realized the answer just before she told me. This world's demons reflect our sins. Angels reflect our virtues, but taken so far that they become worse than the sins. Luna shuddered. Have you ever seen someone kill over unrequited love? I hadn't seen it personally, but I did watch the news, so I nodded. Imagine that rage, targeted at all of us, just for existing. That's angels for you. Of course I thought she was exaggerating, but isn't that how we find the truth in a conflict? Listen to both sides, then find the truth somewhere in but my thoughts were interrupted by the blast of an instrument halfway between a trumpet and a vuvuzela. By God, that thing was loud. Luna directed one quiet word at me. Stop. Then drew a phalanx and scanned the horizon. She followed up with 4 words in Latin. Utinam omnia videre possem. Just days ago, I'd have thought it gibberish, but now I understood perfectly. I wish I could see everything. Oh, hell. Something I cannot see is lining up a shot. My heart skipped a beat. There were no further words. Luna simply pointed her captured lance. Scorching arcane power coalesced into an amalgam of sticky flame, launching forth from the lance. My son's games depicted fireballs as instantaneous explosions, They never showed them clinging like napalm that constantly burned. A winged humanoid outline hovered, invisible but wreathed in sticky flame. Luna had scored a direct hit. I drew my gun and aimed 2 shots, intentionally missing vitals that might result in a cataclysmic critical hit and drain thousands of mana. I instead fired for 2 different wing joints, trusting the magic of the miracle of calculation to compute the fulcra of movement. 2 resounding gong sounds echoed. The bullets had struck thick metal, confirming neither shot had landed. Armoring wing joints was clever, as these foes must assume that their invisibility will sometimes fail. Could I overpower this armor by concentrating many shots in one place? Before I committed to that plan, the flaming outline of the monster moved as though to hurl something at me or Luna. I activated the kinetic deflection bracer, expecting a projectile I couldn't see was already en route. Not 1 but 2 recoils forced me backward. Good. As long as I'm expecting an attack, the bracer works even if I don't know what the attack is. I've been wondering about that. Much less positively, the 2 nearly invisible throwing stars that had been aimed at us each took up 1 charge from the bracer. That meant taking my time was not an option. I pointed the gun, felt it get slightly heavier as one of the spent bullets regenerated, and squeezed out 17 rapid-fire shots. I willed them all to strike the same wing joint as the second shot I'd fired off earlier, and let calculation handle aiming, adjustments to counter the foe's current velocity, and all sorts of complex calculus to handle different models of how its biomechanics might work, and the burning heat encompassing it. The woman I'd been a week ago could have solved those calculations, but it would have required pen and paper and an hour. Today, each calculation was instantaneous, costing me a mana. The 13th shot struck home, and I kept firing. The gong sound ceased, replaced by a defiant "yeah" as one shot, then another struck bone. Luna accelerated to the sorts of speeds that would draw the attention of even a Texas highway patrol, and reached the downed foe long before I could. She remained at the maximum reach of her halberd, and brought it down repeatedly. 2 clunks as the halberd carved through foe and crashed against the rocky ground. Then a scream from Luna, a third, much more final clunk, and finally a gurgled Latin prayer. Argentum, emunda hoc vulnus. The plea to cleanse the wound made sense, but why was Luna pleading for silver to do it? After confirming the foe wasn't moving, I watched awestruck as Luna's bloody torso violently expelled a chunk of rusty metal. Silvery metal wove itself into a gauze over the wound. Blood, dirt, rust, and metal chunks pushed through the gauze, but as blood oozed in both directions, everything else traversed in only one. Her newfound silver magic really was cleansing the wound. "Are you alright? What was that thing?" I asked. "An aspect of diligence. We seldom manage to take one down. We believe they planned for years for one attack, then launch a cunning, decisive strike to seize prisoners, the aspects of justice to use as bait. These monsters represent patience and diligence, taken so far that they come to resemble sloth." Luna interrupted her explanation just long enough to lift her halberd again to brutally confirm the kill, and then scanned what passed for a horizon in this weird realm. "Right, this one was acting alone. I'll need to report to Ultima Vigilia and take this corpse there. I'll introduce you to the Ordo Penumbrae," Luna promised. I didn't need my newfound Latin skills to translate either name. The Order of the Penumbra, which could only be dedicated to protecting people from being burnt by the light, and their base was a location named Ultimate Vigil. The denizens of this Battle Helix realm certainly had straightforward names. If this was Earth, we'd have had an individual's name or a number in there. It'd be the 7th Legion or Fort Rupert. But no, that's not their way. Luna hauled the corpse over her shoulder. I ran alongside Luna, and we soon approached Ultimate Vigil. The fortress was a towering mass of rock, its surface sheathed in splotches of metallic bismuth, melted and smeared as if painted by fire. The rainbow hues, sapphire blending into peacock green and then to regal purple, would have been beautiful under other circumstances, but here they only hinted at past sieges and miraculous defences. Luna took a deep breath, casting a quick glance at me. "Elishia, stay close. Our guards may react unpredictably, and seeing a stranger can trigger a desperate response, but I will vouch for you." As we stepped through the gates, the fortress revealed itself to be a hub of frantic activity. Fighters sharpened their blades or mended armor, and couriers dashed around with grim expressions, carrying updates and commands. Everywhere I looked, there were signs of preparation and urgency, and everywhere I looked, everyone's hair was a bright colour. My unusual garb stood out almost as much as my hair. My grey streaks, which numbered more than I cared to admit, were unremarkable, but muted brown certainly wasn't a colour anyone else had here. Hatta! Luna's voice projected above the noise, commanding a powerful presence even among warriors. A man emerged from a knot of strategists, his muscled frame commanding immediate respect. His attire was entirely practical, leather and chainmail layered for modest protection and unfettered movement. He had bright, almost fluorescent yellow hair, as bright as anyone else in this weird realm. His eyes, though, were what caught my attention. They gleamed with the sharpness of a man whose life was forged in the fires of countless battles. A man who had never known peace. He nodded at Luna, but his gaze quickly locked onto me with calculated curiosity. Who's your guest? A warrior from another world. Fought beside me on the field, Luna declared, her voice brooking no doubt. 4 dozen demons slain, plus an aspect of diligence. Hatta's eyebrows twitched. 4 dozen? He repeated questioningly, motioning for her to continue. The demons were trying to swarm us, a coordinated strike. We recovered 3 fire lances, one of which was discharged as we arrived. But I bring more than just the demon's lances. I've ascended. I have bound a realm. Hatta gestured for a younger soldier to take the lances. Congratulations. Finally some good news. It's bad out there, Luna. More activity than usual, and the angels have taken prisoners as bait again. Morale is stretched thin. Luna's expression darkened. We'll need heroes, willing to lead impossibly suicidal missions. Hatta's eyes flicked towards me, their cold calculation apparent. Perhaps new blood can help shift the balance. His gaze lingered on me for a moment, appraising. What can she do in a fight? I answered this one myself. See this? I asked, raising my gun. It works like a crossbow, or a bow and arrow, but hits much harder. If it lands a direct hit, I can channel a huge explosion of fire and ice through one of my folded realms, but each use of that miracle takes many hours of mana out of me. Interesting. And you took down dozens of demons. Then you and Luna took down the aspect of diligence just as a team of 2? We've lost forces of a dozen and more to just one of those in the past, slain to the last man and woman. That's right, Hatta, Luna added. I lit it up with a fire lance, then she brought it down without using one of the big explosions. Hit the same wing joint with a dozen shots to pierce its armor, and once it was on the ground... Luna didn't add any more words, instead hefting her polearm. Impressive. I'm in a hurry, though, Hatta finally said, his voice a clipped edge. Walls need bolstering and picket lines reinforcing. It's not bad yet, but it could be bad any moment. Then let's make certain they have reason to hesitate before pressing their next assault, Luna replied, turning back to face the older man. Do I have permission to lead a heavy scouting mission, to gather information and attack targets of opportunity? Hatta smiled, nodded, and then dismissed us. The command hub buzzed into a renewed frenzy around us, and I was overwhelmed by a conflict I still did not fully understand. As we left, a runner carrying a newly discharged fire lance arrived. The dishevelled man in scorched armour shouted a warning. New aspects had been sighted. The room stilled.